Module 3, we walked through about multiple things like how to use an API, especially how to create an API. If I create an API, how to use a policy within the API, and what are the various policies that can be used at proxy endpoint pre-flow level as well as target endpoint pre-flow level and both the post-flow levels. So then we actually gone through some of the security content about that one, like we have gone through in detail how to configure an API credential. Example, like if you're consuming an S4 API in your API management, how you can actually leverage using existing SAP API SaaS product, like your key value map. So let's take an example. Go to your SAP API key value map operation, where you can configure your key as your incoming host, your incoming consumer's user ID, or it could be your incoming consumer client ID. And then actually then you can create, once you have that API KVM created, you can have the relevant backend credential, which is nothing but in this case, we used our S4 HANA's backend credential and to connect to a sales order API and get the details. So we talked in detail like how this security content can be leveraged in a better way to use the seamless connectivity using SAP API management. So then we touched upon two security policies, especially your how to use a basic authentication policy. In the basic authentication policy, how to decode a token, like in this case, like your basic token with a basic token, like how to decode your username and password. So if you don't have the right username, what to do? Like so, then if you don't have the username itself, how to throw an exception. And then once you get the username, how you can send those username as part of your key value map. And based on the results that you can actually check the entitlements or claims of an API, but by showing that whether that API is and right has whether the client has the right authorization to access the API. So we talked in those details like how to use a security policy for an API. Okay, so then and also like the overall process, we created a security template. Like in this case, we created entire policy templates. So, and this can be applied whenever you have a requirement of creating another set of API using those templates. Okay, so then this is all about API, and also as in the beginning of our initial days on the API management, we talked about how to create a API designer tool. Okay, so using API designer, how do I actually create my resources or my open API documentation, and actually how to add those. Let's take an example. If I put n number of contents in my API, and actually like whenever I'm publishing that API, I should make sure what are the resources that I am defining in my documentation, and those resources should be available as part of my API. And these resources could be like it can come as part of your pre-flow um, resource path, or it can come as your target endpoint resource path, or it can become as part of your proxy endpoint resource path. Like we talked in detail on those factors as well. Okay, so then we talked about like how to use monitoring. So like because whenever you have API management, like how to use a monitoring capability within your API management. So that is another aspect. Like so, let's take an example. Like you can go to your API management monitoring tool. Like you can create your own dashboard out of it. So, so first we touched upon like how what is the standard out of the box that SAP is giving. Like if you want to see the overall summary of your API consumption and your API response time and what is the number of hits that is happening within your API management, you can use the default overview tab, and you can use usage tab to see the custom API calls and all the different other components, like how is my APIs behaved in a day and all those information. And there is one more tab also called health status app, like what is the health of my API, like how many number of calls it's happening for an API. Let's take an example. If an API is making 100 calls, out of 100 calls, what are the cumulative sum of success and cumulative sum of failures. You can actually see all those things in this content. And also like what is a catch response, you can see in this one, like and this tab will give you in detail what is an error response that is actually being sent out of your SAP API management, and what is the error that has been sent out of your, especially your backend system when you're connecting to your target endpoints using your API management. So we talked about all these factors, and also we created another dashboard, a custom dashboard. If I want to have different measures and dimensions, like how do I create different graphs and charts and everything, like, and with this one, what are the various measures and dimensions I can actually use as part of my product. I can even track what is a number of calls for an API, and actually within the number of calls, I can even track, like, especially a second, it's loading up. So I can even see, like, if I have the number of APIs as a count, and actually let's take an example. In this case, we can filter an API, so that will give the proper dimension to us. Yes, API name, and we can filter test API and test zero API. This should bring your response time. You can actually have multiple factors out of it. And once you click on deep dive into that one, you can see what is your total number of calls, what is your response time, and you can see other factors, like if you deep dive into, like, what is your response code for each and every API. So this is another feature like SAP is offering to see your path information, your response code information, everything can be measured, but you have to define the right measures and dimension. When you create this graph, then this will give the proper information. Generally, this will be delayed almost like 5 to 10 minutes in general, because this has to commit into the Kafka database, and Kafka database internally is sync the data with HANA-DB. From HANA-DB, it has to come back to your UI screen. So, like, this is holistically, it's a async mechanism from SAP, but in general, it takes minimum 5 to 10 minutes of delay. Like a 5 minutes delay is a standard one. Like within 5 minutes, you should be seeing all the data related for your API analytics. So this is about API analytics. You can actually play around by creating some API and hitting some calls, and you can take it forward from there. So coming back to our API product creation. So that is another one, like another feature where you can create an API product. Okay, so there will be another tab in your API management to create as a product. Once you create the product, like, you can club multiple case, but actually in our example, we are taking the out of the box API, as well as we are taking some of the standard API from API Hub, and we are authorizing those APIs. So that means we are actually clubbing multiple API into a single product, and we're actually converting that product into a consumer-based product, where we can have multiple consumer can consume on those API, and then once a consumer consumes those API, then they will actually have a different XApp key for different consumers, so that actually we can have a different level of access and different level of entitlements for different API consumers. So this is another feature, like with API product. Like this is because since we do not have the real-time example or real-time system for a API product, you can go through this module screen. Like, it explains clearly how to create an API, how to consume that API from your API Hub. And once you consume that API into your API Hub, then actually how you can publish that API, then how to actually have this API enabled as part of your business. It gives a detailed level of documentation, how to do all the process step by step. So this is about your creating a API product and using your API product in your real term. But the another highlight is, like, API product becomes a sometime like overhead to the client side, because some of them don't want to go with the API product because it adds some more layer of security, And if the same API has to be tracked in a different way, they will have a kind of a challenge in like have this unique key with that API. This increases the maintenance. So that's the reason people will actually restrict with API proxy, because this API product also have to tie up with the developer portal within API management, and that ties up with another maintenance access. Like, let's take an example: you are in a bigger enterprise and you are developing a product and you want to have a tight governance on your product development, then you need to activate another component called API developer portal. And in that API developer portal, like, you need to restrict which set of developers can access which set of product, and it brings a lot of maintenance activity in general. Like, and that actually like defines certain entitlements and claims, then brings much more complexity over there. But in general, it is a good practice to stop until API proxy. If it is a real need and real necessary, then you can jump into API product. But this is a one more offering from SAP, just to good to know, and if needed, we can use this one. The same logging mechanism what we touched upon SAP API management logging, that we are actually having a log analytics as part of standard out of the product. So actually, like, there are a couple of more products as part of automation, as part of Dynatrace, especially if your enterprise is having APM tool like Dynatrace, or actually your Signal FX or Splunk. If SAP logs need to be pushed using an agent as a SaaS solution to monitor its life cycle as well as the deployment status and health check, all those things can be retrieved using an API, and this can be pushed to your APM tool as agent. So agent will act as your SaaS solution here. The famous market product I actually told about, like Logily, that is also supporting another couple of more products. So as part of co-innovation, SAP came up is something called Power Connect. So, and Power Connect is another product like actually which helps you to configure an agent in your landscape. So you can actually have this agent in your landscape, and they can actually push the SaaS solution into your cloud also. And once you have that agent ready, then the agent will go, and the agent will be scheduled to pull the data for every 5 minutes from SAP side and push it to your Splunk side. But the only typical part here, right, like there will be always a 5 minutes delay to get the data and post it to your Splunk. So that it's not a real-time data, like as like your ABAP system. So ABAP system will print all the logs as quick as possible. But when you have any agent in between or any SaaS solution in between, this is a common pattern. Like, you will have 2 to 5 minutes as your delay to pull the logs and push the logs to your APM tools. Another product like that's SAP actually launched in the past SAP TechEd was Avantra. So Avantra, they do lot of automation, and also they have the capability to have end-to-end logging as well as the distributed tracing capability. So Avantra is another tool like SAP just introduced in the last decade. It has a combination of your automation. When I talk about automation, it does a lot of features like your Splunk to ServiceNow integration, or your SAP to ServiceNow integration. It does a lot of things over there. And also it does actually your SAP system to your Splunk integration. That is also automated there actually through some agent. So Avantra is another tool. It's a now SAP approved product that can even do all this job. So there are multiple products are available in the market. Like, we have to pick and choose based on our need as well as based on our licensing factor, because every one of them actually want to learn more about SAP and they want to give the product to the market, right? Like, once we procure some product, we might learn something and they also might learn something based on your enterprise need or your client requirement needs, and they might actually go for some further enhancement from there. So there is no consistent product. Like, we have to do some research on which will be suitable for our enterprise. We have to take a call and we have to move forward on that one. So with this, our module 3, like managing APIs and API management is getting completed. And we can actually, I hope like everyone has tried some APIs in the tool. Like if you have any queries on creating API or policies, you can ask me in this call, or you can actually reach out to me anytime through my team. So they should be able to help you. But my recommendation is just put your hands like into this tool, and you will learn more about it once you put your hands more into this one. Any questions or any doubts till this time?
I had a general question. I believe at WBA we use Apogee, so I guess that does API management, does it? And presumably we could connect an agent to send API analytical data out if required. Is there any way that we can get data from outside of the integration suite using an agent and bring it into the analytical tool? I'm just thinking about some of the SAP sort of APIs that don't run through integration suite. Is that something that's possible, or is it just not?
Yeah, so it's possible. So just to be clear, like SAP give all its logging data, analytical data. If you go to this document also, right, like they are even actually giving the entire like your lifecycle management of an API, as well as other content like your API health check information, API health check information, and another one is API deployment status, API failed status, API what are the active APIs or what are inactive APIs. Everything they are giving as part of your as a third party API. Like if you go to API Hub, I can even show that API how it is available. SAP API management. Just if you put SAP API management logging, it will bring all the API. This will bring for Cloud Foundry as well as for yeah. So this is on API. You have all the API that are available as part of your API Hub. So you can use these APIs to, let's take an example. In your case, the agents are on tool, like I can actually show you Power Connect. Power Connect is a standard tool now. It's like their job is to connect to any SAP, both on-prem and cloud. They will connect either in two ways. Either like they'll provide, if it is a SaaS solution, they can actually query the data to your SAP system through an API. But if you have an on-prem system, they will actually install the agent in your application log level, and that will help you to bring that data out of your system and then send the data to your Splunk or Signal effects and everything. So Power Connect is one system. Even agent installation is possible because this is a SAP approved third-party solution that can do all this job. Another one is Aventra. That's what so another tool like this also does everything.
Sure. So at WBA, I imagine there's already a number of bits of software. I think Apogee is used quite extensively. So I suspect we'll probably be using something that we've already got, unless SAP provide it for free.
SAP doesn't provide anything for free. We have to actually pay out of. So we have to pay out of it, and we have to actually use as per our need. So this is a Power Connect I have actually used multiple places. I used Aventra also. Like both of them has its own unique feature, like to install an agent and get the product out of it. So it depends like which one we are bringing into the picture. Any other questions?
I don't have anything else. Thanks.
Thank you. So let's start our next module. This is nothing but your SAP Cloud Integration tool. Okay. So in this, especially in this module 4, we are going to see in detail about managing cloud integration. So that is a major factor. Then next is the module 5 is nothing but your process modeling. So as part of your course curriculum, in the module 4, we are going to see what is SAP cloud integration, and we'll just go in depth of what is a development cycle that is available in your SAP cloud integration. Then we will see message monitoring capability. Like it is not similar to PO, but we have a different mechanism to monitor the messages and how to log the message. There are two ways, like on-demand logging and actually every time logging. There are two ways to log the message. Like I can show in detail. Like, and also your SAP is running on a camel engine, and on what are the various expressions that we can use while you are designing your iFlow. So and consider this is completely different mechanism or a complete different technology when compared to PO. PO works in a different way because it is completely operated in a SOA layer. But your SCPI is completely is a Java-based system, and it's a free flow model. You can seamlessly integrate any systems by doing a simple process modeling concept. And also it has a sync and async mechanism, quite easy using a JMS queue, and you have other options too. We can talk about all those options in detail in these two modules. So let's start with your integration, cloud integrations. So what is cloud integration, right? Um, so initially, before it's named as SAP Cloud Integration, this tool is called as HANA Cloud Integration when it is called as SAP Cloud Platform or HANA Cloud Platform. So SAP came up with this tool in the year 2016 because during those days when we have success factor system, because the first cloud SaaS solution which SAP landed in the cloud space of success factors, to integrate success factor to SAP, we do not have any middleware at that time. So SAP has to rely on Delboomi. Delboomi was one of the cloud SaaS solution that actually does all the transformation, also help to connect to some, they actually created some prepackaged adapters explicitly for SAP to have this connection seamlessly between success factors and its third-party system onto its SAP system. So then later, like then year pass on, like SAP started actually proposing its own cloud integration platforms to all its customers and Lighthouse customers. Then SAP Cloud Integration actually came into picture, at least a matured version by the end of 2016, and by 17 actually you can see a full-fledged product which will be running on your Neo platform. So from there, like I took the concept of same iFlow design from PO, because PO also has this iFlow modeling to integrate your on-premise system to any cloud system. And they took it into the cloud using a Camel engine now. This Camel engine is completely open source layer, but actually it's bounded to SAP's infrastructure and SAP's DNS. So this is just a background and overview of how SAP Cloud Integration came into the picture, into the market. Like from there, like SAP started investing into a lot of things. Like it actually developed its own adapter for its own technology support, and also it actually started evolving, developing some adapters for other systems like ServiceNow, Splunk, and actually it came up with a product for Workday and a lot of other things come into picture now. So in general, your SAP Cloud integration is end-to-end process integration through exchange of message. Like once you design your iFlow from your source, like your sender to receiver, you can send any message. Like you can receive the message either in your HTTP or your REST format, and you can transform. You can actually you can modify your message. You can massage and do the transformation in the entire process flow. And you can have another process call, like you can use multiple system calls, and you can club the message into one. And also there are so many components that is available in a CPI. You can actually, let's take, if I want to connect a particular segment to another system, you can use content enricher. So many capabilities are available. Like that is seamlessly, you can use that as CPI and then get the data and send the data and to your receivers. So, and this is completely on your open source Camel engine framework, which Camel is nothing but your Apache software foundation. Now it is Camel 2.0 and we are running on Camel 2.0, and with 2.3.2 is the latest version, I believe. Like when you go to CPI, you can see your SAP's example. I'll show you in CPA what is the SAPA version that is running on your server. So if you go to your SAP Cloud Platform Integration, here you can see about your, so this SAP Cloud Integration version is 3.6.3, and your cloud integration is running on 6.5.128, but your internal CAM engine is 2.3.1. That's the latest one SAP is operating. And this is a release version, patches support that one. And your cloud integration runtime is 6.51.12. Each and everything has a different components tied up to it. Like with 6 version, you will have advanced features in some adapters. With 4 version, we will not see some more adapters there. And your API management is this one. Like you can see all your versions in this one. And this will help you to see. Let's take an example. If you want to use any explicit adapters, and if SAP is publishing some security component to that adapter, that might be available only starting from this version and this version. So SAP has documented what are the new releases that they're actually releasing for each and every patch, how they used to maintain for your NetWeaver PO server. So they're doing the same cycle here. The only difference between PO and CPI is in case of PO, now client has to make the call like which version they have to go and which patch they want to go. But in case of SCPI, like it's all completely taken care by SAP, and they will just tell like, so this patch is released for so and so mechanism, and this all the things are taken care of. Like they will do the beta in your non-prod tenant, and the same thing will be done in the couple of weeks later on your prod tenant. So like SAP is taking the control of all the SaaS releases and it does the entire operation of that. So, and coming back to your SAP in cloud integration, like as I mentioned earlier, like this is the core capability of your SAP BTP Integration Suite. It has multiple tabs like your development tab, which is nothing but your design tab, to go ahead and build your iFlows using a package creation. And then it has a deployment tab. So deployment tab is nothing but you can see what are these iFlows are deployed. Let me show you. So this is your manage integration content tab where you can see your what are the iFlows are deployed, and you can even actually enable increase the log content of your iFlow.
Hey, you know, ZaranTech now offers SAP corporate training. That's right. Train your workforce in SAP with our comprehensive program. We offer customized courses, certified trainers, and hands-on labs for both individuals and businesses. Our standout features? Bespoke training, fully configured servers for practice, in-house materials, and a dedicated LMS. Plus, get session recordings and 24/7 support. From functional to technical modules, we have got it all. Choose ZaranTech for SAP training and watch your team excel. Learn, upskill, succeed with ZaranTech.
We will talk in detail like what is on-demand logging and what is actually all the time logging, right? So then coming back to your like it has monitoring capability and it has and everything is something like this SCPA development is done through a graphical mode, and like you don't have to write any code. If you have any extensive requirement, you can achieve most of the things using your XSLT or Groovy mostly, and with the graphical default palette components, you will be able to achieve a lot of your requirement. You don't need to create any extensive components out of it. Like in the initial days, some more challenges even for base 64 encoding and decoding was there. Now SAP came up with as much as possible default palette components, and we can use that palette component in your entire transformation journey, and you can achieve your end-to-end solution. And this is one of the SAP's proprietary solution for low code and no code tool, because only 2 tools actually has this capacity. One is SAP Cloud Integration, another one is SAP Cloud Integration Advisor. Both of them are low code or no code capability. Even in your API management, you need to code something to have your API configuration to be successful. But in this one, it's completely low code and no code. But so low code is something like you'll be logging only to do, you'll be writing a code to log a message. Like you will be writing XSLT to do a complex XSLT transformation, some kind of a transformation which is quite takes some kind of auto generation of values. So XSLT can do all those magics internally. But in your graphical mapping, you need to be very mindful about your context. You need to be mindful about the different XPath, and actually you need to be mindful about the null values, lot of things. But XSLT can do all the magic seamlessly. So that's what actually SAP tells is one of the proprietary low code and no code tool. Okay, so coming back to its key features, like at the center side, these are the adapters, because as you know, like once you create any iFlow in your system, let's take an example. I'm going to create an iFlow. Okay, so here you can actually browse your sender if you want to click any sender that you want to connect, and you can keep the sender here. Or if you don't have any sender, like you can just keep this component as is. But you might be wondering, like you need to, in SAP PO world, you might need to create a business system, or you need to create a relevant component to have the center configured. But SAP pops up how many, so based on the customer's requirement and everything, SAP pops up default senders here. If any customer releases further more senders, all those lists, this list will be completely growing. So this has completely, let's take an example. If I have success factors as my sender, these are success factors. You can actually choose success factors as my sender. And if the success factors, it has multiple modules. I can choose either my employee central I'm going to integrate, or payroll, or LMS, talent, or TMS, anything you can actually select as your sender component. Same applies to your receiver component. Like this helps you to give everything. But I'm just giving an empty one. Let me see. So your iFlow is created now. So once you create an iFlow, by default, this will bring your sender component and your receiver component. So both your sender will be connected as part of your incoming message to your integration process, and your receiver can be connected either at your end of your message or with multiple components like your request reply, send, and actually if there are multicast, you can even multicast to the receiver. So there are multiple components. We will talk in detail how as a receiver can be connected in multiple ways from SCPI, but your sender should always start with actually a start of your message. And when you connect with your sender with the start of your message, like you will be having AWS adapter. So AWS adapter, I don't think so this will come as part of your default package. But if you want to use explicitly AWS adapter, like you need to download the adapter from your service marketplace. And from service marketplace, actually, you can install, you can, once you have that one, you can actually put as part of your adapter, you can create your package in your design mode, like SAP standard reusable adapters. And within that one, you have to deploy that adapter into your manage integration content. And from then you will see AWS adapter will be active on your system. That's the way like SAP is bringing AWS adapter into that picture. And other adapters I could see like AMQP. So this is to connect to any queuing AMQP servers which are available with PO, because in general, SAP has AMQP feature tied up only to PO at this point of time. But if you have any third-party AMQP servers, so they do not have the configuration at this point of time. By default, SAPI can connect AMQP servers with a PO. That is pretty much possible. And then your Ariba systems, like your Ariba has a different adapter because Ariba has its own technology. So those are called CXMLs. Whenever you work with Ariba requirement, you'll come to know. Similar to Salesforce, how they have their own technology protocol to connect to systems. And Ariba has its own technology called CXML. And they are used to communicate. So CXML is used to communicate between multiple consumers, and SAP come up with the adapter in Ariba 2 and AS2, AS4. These are all adapters for your EDI based messages. And actually, and this can be used in combination of your integration advisor when you have mix and match. You can use these adapters, and you have your Elster, Facebook, FTP. FTP and SFTP are actually totally different. So SFTP has its own way of configuration. FTP has its own way of configuration, and your HTTP and HTTPS has a different way of configuration too. And you have your own OData adapter too. So like you can even expose your entire CP as a OData adapter to the outside consumer also. But once you do that one, you can actually restrict something like CSR of production and a lot of other things you can do, which is when you expose as your OData adapter. And it has a JMS adapter. So JMS is mainly for your async mechanism, where you can have a JMS adapter to listen to your JMS incoming messages. And on your so when you design a async mechanism, I'll show an example like how to design a async mechanism, like how you can split that message asynchronously in such a way your first high flow will land the message to JMS and your second high flow will pick up the message from the JMS. So JMS is a continuous polling for the high flows. It will continuously poll to the high flow. Another one is continuously push to the high flow. I'll show that mechanism in general, how you can design the high flow too. And then coming back to your Kafka. So many consumers they want to, in their enterprise, they might have systems like default. So let's take an example. I'm an enterprise. I have a central broker for my entire organization. And in that case, my entire organization is transacting through the broker. And this broker, there are two broker out in the market. One is Kafka, another one is Solace. SAP uses JMS in the Solace technology. So the entire JMS is built with Solace. And actually, but you see from the industry standards, like this Kafka has been developed from the retail customers like Walmart and Amazon. They use extensively Kafka. Even Amazon has its own messaging queuing capacity, especially Walmart explicitly uses Kafka broker heavily. So Kafka is for your entire streaming of your like billions of message in a second. Like if I want to transact millions of message within 1 hour or something like in couple of hours, I can use Kafka to stream entire thing. And it's a Kafka works in a way called pub/sub model. There will be one publisher and there will be multiple subscribers. So like in this case, when you put a CPI as in the center side, so you will become as one of the subscriber to the topic. Your publisher will be posting some message to that one. So SAP come up with a Kafka adapter like in 2 to 3 years before. And actually with this one, like whenever you connect to Kafka broker, like any enterprise or when they have a streaming platform, they will have their Kafka within their own VPC because a lot of data is transacting from one layer to another layer. So now if you make a CPI want a CPI to also authorize to listen to that one, you need to inform your IP range to your enterprise broker system, and they will make sure the listeners, like the subscribers, like a CPI can absorb the message from the Kafka without any problem in terms of security side. Because when you touch upon on your enterprise wide technology, let's or a broker system, the data goes seamlessly. So they want to protect the data by getting affected by the intruders. So they will have their entire broker in a specified DNS. So if a CPI want to connect to that broker, they need to do the whitelisting of that IP range, and SAP that IP range information will be available, is also available in the internet, the standard SAP BTP content. Like if you are on the US East on specific region, you have the IP range defined so and so, and for all the regions across the globe, SAP has given the IP range and what are the different worker nodes also need to be connected. SAP gives the document in detail so that they will allow you to consume the message from Kafka server. So Kafka is another one. Then you have your mail adapter. So where on the sender side you have your, you can actually convert your entire SAP system into a SAP AI flow into a mail adapter, and you can even send that message through that one. And you have ODC, and ODC is again, this is for your OData protocol change capture mechanism, and this is another adapter. This also follows like a data modeling capacity, and with this one, like you can, if you go here, you can actually see a feature called ODC model development in your artifact generation. You can even show that one. So this data types, whatever data types like you are creating, so this can be your ODC adapters, ODC data model too. And this data model can be leveraged in your SAP sender side to use that content too. So then coming back to open connectors, even at the sender side, you can use sender's open connector example, like if I want to connect to any US API. So by default, like if AWS want to trigger a event through a webhook event, so Open Connector has another feature called webhook. So where, let's take an example, you are connecting to an enterprise account, or you are connecting to enterprise box services. So let's take an example, you are listening to a box service in your, you have a box folder. Whenever the document drops into your box, you want to let the integration to perform some operation. So in that case, what you can do, you can actually use Open Connector. Open Connector has a feature called webhook, where in the webhook you have to define which folder ID I am listening, and based on that folder ID, and actually I can receive the event, and once I receive the event, I can push the same event to a CPI as part of my sender. Then a CPI will take care of that operation and it will do the transformation and do the necessary operations and back information to box. So this is one of the use case where Open Connector is being used as part of your webhook event. And similarly, you can use multiple API, like you can even configure if I have a payment gateway in Stripe, or I have a Razorpay payment gateway. I can configure those payment gateway as a webhook event in my Open Connector. I can make it available to push that event to a CPA through Open Connector. So Open Connector help you to not only to connect to that API, but also help you to configure a webhook event within your system so that that can be leveraged to CPI, because CPI trusts Open Connector because that's an internally built SAP product that is trusted more. So once you use Open Connector, you don't have to use any other security layer, because Open Connector itself does all the TLS and SSL authentication with the CPI that connects with a seamless operation. This is another use case with Open Connector. And then coming back to your RFC based connection, like I have SAP RFC, which is defined in my SAP SM59 transaction, or actually I have my RFC created on my SAP PO system. Like I can even consume those RFC using as a push event from SAP system to my CPI. And SOAP adapter, like I have output types configured. Let's take an example. I have a purchase order create or a sales order create whenever the order is getting created from SAP. So these are all like generally out of the box SAP API, and this out of the box APIs will be all SOAP based APIs. And with this API, like you can consume that message out of it. Whenever on this, so whenever you connect to SOAP, there are two ways of connecting SOAP. Either connecting, so just to, you want to listen that message. The first way is to, if I use SOAP 1.x, like I can get the request and send the response back. My source will be waiting to receive the response back. Another one is just push mode, like it'll fire it and forget the call itself, like you. So there are two ways to connect your SOAP message with a synchronous or asynchronous mechanism. We can see some example on that line also. Then XI is another adapter, like it's our default XI adapter, which has been used in the olden days. The same, in the same way how you use in PO, you can use the same adapter in SCPA too. And there are more adapters are available, like you have your success factors adapter also available at the center side. You have your Twitter adapter. So whenever you tweet something on the, you can actually have again a webhook or an event trigger from tweet. So when somebody tweets something, you can get those as an event, and that those event also push through a CPI as a center side. So much more adapters are available. Like you can go ahead and see all the default adapters. Like I believe this edition will not bring more adapters, but you can just see what are those adapters are available. I'll show you how to see those adapters. Yeah. So these are the adapters like your advanced event mesh. So this is another one with the event mesh. We talked about event mesh capability pushing out of your any purchase order lightweight event or sales order lightweight BP event. So that is consumed through advanced event mesh adapter. Like you have all these adapters, but in general, you will have almost 40, 50 adapters in general. But somehow I could see very limited adapters because of the edition, whichever edition you're using. So, but your receiver will have much more adapters too. This has this many, and this also has other adapters. Success factors has not been showing here. Workday came up. A lot of other different sales force adapters also came in the recent versions. I do not see these adapters here because of the free edition, but in your real world, when you go into enterprise mode, you'll see more adapters. So then coming back to your process lane, like as you see in your SAPI flow, you have start and end message. The entire thing is called process modeling, and then this is called the process lane. So you will have only one process lane, and this will be entirely vertical across. In actually in PO there is a component called BPM. With BPM you can create multiple process lanes, but in ACPI works in a different way. So this is start of the message, end of the message. In between you can do a lot of operations. So then with this, right, like with a process lane, like you have event, you have your mapping, you have your transformation. You can even do routing, and you can do multicast. So your multicast can be your parallel multicast, it can be a sequential multicast, and it can be once you do any multicast, it can be you can join that multicast into a single message, and you can splitters, and you can have gathers, and you can even, let's take in your process lane, you can use a data store and a write variable to persist some message. There are some kind of limitation, or I would say there are some standard that you need to only store as so only limited amount of data. But if you want to have an interim database, always better to have any third-party database, or actually go and provision HANA database in your SAP cloud platform, which is nothing but SAP BTP. And you can make HTTP or ODC call to that adapter, and you can consume the data out of using your SAPI. So with this, like you will have your validators, like you have your validator for XML message, you have a validator for JSON message. A lot of things are available with this one. With the process lane, you can design much more factors. On the same side, like on your consumer side, like when you consume this one, so when you connect to a receiver, as I told you, there are multiple ways to connect. One is by connecting through your end of your message, or I can even have request reply, which will come here as external call. So I can connect through request reply. I can even connect to folder enrichment, content enrichment, send. So all these components are used to connect your receivers. And with this, each and every component will have a different adapters. Your request reply will have more adapters. Your send will have limited adapters. Content enrichment will have very limited adapters. So like, but your end will have more adapters. So if you want to have a synchronous communication, you need to use request reply. If you want asynchronous communication, then you need to use send message. We can talk in detail actually. Then if I want to do my enrichment of my content, then I need to use content enrichment. If I want to poll the enrichment, if I want to poll some database and then I need to enrich some content out of it, I need to use a poll enrichment. So these are all the ways you can connect with your receivers, and then you can make a call. Then also SAP provides let's take an example. I'm developing a reusable adapter. So here one more adapter has been actually missed, so which is called a process direct. So process direct is another adapter that plays a major role. For example, if I develop a reusable iFlow within the same package or a common utility package, of some certain mechanism I want to create as a reusable factor, and I want to make that the entire iFlow to be available for multiple bigger iFlows. So then you can create a adapter called process direct adapter. I don't think so that is coming here now. So that adapter will be available. So just that adapter. So with the process direct adapter, you can consume the message from your sender, from your parent iFlow to your child iFlow. And once you consume the message, you can use internally some more adapters to do the transformation and send the response back to within 4 minutes. You need to send the response back to your parent iFlow. Process direct actually helps you to keep the connection very stable and keep the connection ongoing holistically for that one. So that's a main role of your process direct adapter. But somehow these are all like new adapters are coming up with your existing product, and we can see some more adapter how we can use. Like we can see how to use HTTP adapter. We have seen OData adapter. With the OData adapter, we have multiple operations. You have put, you have get, you have post, you have delete operation. The same thing is possible with your HTTPS adapter also, like get, post, put, and your delete operation is also possible. And the Kafka adapter here, it's been used in a different way when compared to the consumption layer. So in this case, Kafka adapter, like in your previous mechanism, you are actually listening to your enterprise system, but in this case, it's not a polling mechanism. Here it's a pushing mechanism. So in this case, like in the same example of your enterprise broker, so you will come as a publisher of a topic. So you have to create a topic in your enterprise broker system. It could be a Kafka, it could be Solace or in any system, whichever your enterprise. You need to go ahead and create a topic, and for the topic, you are the only publisher or a producer. So and once you become as a producer or publisher, your configuration will be totally different from your source side, because here you will have an option to partition a message, and you can actually set the self lifetime of a message. Whenever you publish a message, you can tell to the broker, like, I want to keep the message only for certain time. And actually, I can, whenever I send a message, I want to partition into multiple things. And also, you have multiple features with your Kafka adapter, like whenever you act as your producer. So that we can see, like, if I don't think so I have any Kafka adapter, but I can show you in the world like how the Kafka adapter configuration can be done. Then coming back to your JMS, the same way, like, because the Kafka adapter is used external from your CPI, JMS adapter is internal to CPI, where SAP connects to its own JMS adapter, and this JMS system is internal to SCPI, and that is built with there is an underlying broker as Solace as a database as well as a broker system for CPI. And when you post a message to your JMS, the messages, you need to set your what is the lifetime of my message. What that means, what is my expiry time of my message, and what is my how long actually how many hours I need to keep my message, how many partition I want to keep my message within my JMS. Everything, all the configuration you can see in your sender side, but you can see at your receiver side. But when it come as a sender side with the JMS, you will have an option to just what is the frequency of the polling, and how like a frequency, like how often I have the capability to poll the message, and whether I can do parallel threading or not. So these are the only limited options with your sender side, and some more options with your receiver side. Like we can see all those features, and we can see all what is the usage of each and every parameters. And your mail adapter, again, it can be synchronous or it can be asynchronous. So that means you can connect your message end, or it can be connected to your send message. So those are all also available. ODC is to connect your database. So then you have the same case, you have your open connectors here. open connector is another adapter. Like, so in the sender side, we have seen as part of a book event. On the receiver side, so we are going to push a message to box. In this case, like whenever I receive a message from S4 system, I do my transformation within my CPI, then I can actually access box particular folder with the folder ID, and I can post a message to box using open connector. The same case applies to your AWS S3 bucket. You can use S3 bucket through this open connector and can post a message to the S3 bucket. So, and also the same RFC, you can push the message to RFC. This is a pushing mechanism to a different system. It will have different configuration altogether. And much more adapters are available. SuccessFactors has 2 more adapters. SuccessFactors has OData V2 and V4 adapters, and actually SuccessFactors SOAP XML adapter also available. And SuccessFactors has a REST adapter too. So those are all like a pre-packaged adapter that will come default within your package at the receiver side as well as at the sender side. And with those standard functionality, you can even have access to multiple APIs, because why SAP came up with these adapters for SuccessFactors explicitly, because when you have SuccessFactors OData adapter in general, like you will be connected to only SuccessFactors defined entity sets. But when you go ahead with example SOAP adapter, SOAP is being used in the technology like onboarding, SuccessFactors onboarding module, offboarding, termination, like all those modules are used using SuccessFactors, or in general, it has been used with SuccessFactors SOAP XML. There are some APIs called BizX API, like which is nothing but similar to your EC, but EC is for Employee Central, this is for the business transaction. And those adapters, BizX API has a core component of your entire enterprise business operations. And SAP can restrict to operate only those components. So SAP come up with these adapters because you can connect to the particular component with the right information. So this will make you seamless connections. And in the same way, like, so I talked about the process director adapter on the sender side. Like if you are a parent adapter, parent iFlow, then you can actually use the same process director adapter here, and that can actually on your receiver side that can connect to another iFlow sender side, so that will be also connected in a seamless way. So like this, we have much more adapters. We will see how much adapter we can be able to do some kind of demonstration, and we can take it forward from here. So, any queries or any doubts to this time? Okay. So with this, actually, we touched upon the key features, like with what are different adapters, how we can connect with those adapters, and what are those importance of those adapters availability. Like now, coming back to the connectivity, your sender adapter, and as I mentioned, like sender and receiver are totally different. And actually, another beauty of this one, like you can actually create your own custom adapter as same thing like your PO world, where actually you come up with you can create your own Java adapters, and even I can create my own. You not only a web proxies, I can even have a Java-based beans to connect to some certain proxies. So even I can even do the same thing with my SCPI, where I can SAP actually provide a separate SDKs, so which is nothing but your cloud SDK for SCPI. With cloud SDK for SCPI, you can develop your own adapter, and once you develop your own adapter, you can wrapper that entire adapter as your jar, or you can publish as a MTA object to your SAP portal, and SAP will verify that one, because sometimes we might use some libraries in our custom development, and this licensing need to be checked. Let's take an example, Log4j becomes the biggest problem like last year because of security threat. So similarly, SAP will scan whenever you develop any adapter, you have to submit as part of your service marketplace, and SAP will actually check that one, and if that suits with their all security compliance and security algorithm, they will approve you to use that adapter and deploy the adapter in your machine. And also, even whenever you use any adapter, because as I told, like we have a Splunk adapter, and we have actually adapters to connect to Jira board also. Like those are adapters that came up, but there are some third-party systems. You can even find those adapters in your design mode. Like if you go to your SCPI Discover mode, let me show you. You can see those adapters here. Like, and also another point is whenever you use any adapter, which is a licensing product and which are like SAP pre-packaged content. Like AWS adapter is not a licensing product, but when you use other adapters from example Pojo developments, let me show you Pojo adapters. So Pojo adapters, they bring, especially these are the Pojo adapters. Yeah, so take an example of Kate Salesforce adapter. Kate is a third-party SaaS vendor where they are SAP certified integration solution partner, right? Like, but SAP come up with its own Salesforce adapter later. But actually, if you want to use this Kate solution adapter, you need to have a separate licensing. You can even copy this one, but you will be able to only have the integration content copied. But if you want to use the adapter in detail, and this is a document page, like they will explain in detail how to use their adapter and how to purchase adapter. Some of the adapters are like license based and cost based. We need to analyze like which is the adapter which will come as part of my own licensing, and which adapter that I need to purchase as an extra cost to utilize my feature. So in general, to my opinion, like if you want to connect to Splunk, SignalFx, or any kind of a system, you can use actually HTTP adapter should be more than enough. But if you have any specific requirement, like I have a specific handshake that I need to achieve through a specific security mechanism, those are the things like those adapter will give us an extra feature. But in general, your Splunk HTTP adapter should solve the problem of most of your connections.
What sets ZaranTech apart in SAP corporate training? It's our unique blend of expertise and innovation. We offer customized courses tailored to each client's needs, ensuring relevant, targeted learning. Our vast trainer database brings you wisdom from the best in the field. Need resources? Access our extensive training material repository anytime. We are all about measurable results, providing detailed student metrics to track progress. And we don't just teach, we build community. Join our thriving social media network, connecting learners beyond boundaries. With ZaranTech, you are not just training, you are transforming your SAP expertise.
So, yeah, so that's like, we need to make sure like which are all licensed product or which are all like inbuilt product within SCPI. Once you have the clarity, then you can actually start using. Yeah, so this one I showed you like how to see at the center side what are the different adapters that are available, and we can actually select each and every adapter. You can even check like what is the mechanism that is supported on each and every adapter. Example, we can pick up, even in this example, I can show you an adapter. If I am selecting a SOAP adapter, here SAP RM or SAP 1.x. So if I choose SAP 1.x, that is going to be a synchronous flow. If I choose RM, I'll show you what is the RM feature. RM is nothing but reliable messaging. With the reliable messaging, you're going to have only an async mechanism. So all your push events will be supported with reliable messaging. Just if SAP system want to fire some message, you can use SAP RM. It's for asynchronous mechanism. But once you use 1.x, that is another things. So your SOAP 1.x has features, and it will actually have you. It will ask you whether you want the message exchange to be done request reply or one way. So here also, if you put request reply, then the consumer is expecting back the response back. If you put on one way, then you have to define it's a robust or different thing. Certain web service definition restrict you to do a one-way mechanism. Certain things with a one-way, you cannot even use RM, because RM is the standard that you need to select at your SOAP message itself. But if you have some other definition that need a one-way trigger, then you can actually use this kind of setup with a robust, and will be having a standard WS standard. So we have different properties for different feature that you want to connect, and we need to know all this in general as a documentation, because I believe most of you know about RM messaging, because RM is reliable messaging. Whenever you define whenever you define a SOAP message from your EC system, you need to define RM over there, and that should be the same RM should be used here. But when you define different one here, and you have to use a different mechanism. Even you can use same one way here, but the performance wise, when you push n number of events with reliable messaging, your socket will be single threaded. You will have your socket will be small packet with multiple threads. But when you use RM, when you use one way, so it is a bigger packet with a single threaded. So it makes a lot of difference when you do simulation of multiple message from your source side. So we have to be really careful about choosing these configurations, and this can actually turn around with a bigger performance impact too. So this is an example of a SOAP message, like how you can actually configure a message for SOAP sender side. The similar options are possible with the receiver side also. Yep. So then I'll show one adapter at the receiver side, like same SOAP message, how it has been put at the receiver side too. I'll put a just one here. Yeah. Here also .x. Here you can define like what is a proxy type you are going to connect with 1.x, and you can actually define what is a URL that you're going to connect, and you can even browse the WSDL that you're going to connect in general. That will help you to show what is a exact URL or exact definition your CPA should communicate as part of contract. That will be helpful to you. Another one is if I choose RM, that will bring me different configuration. Yep. So this will bring you directly the address and your WSDL definition. And once you have the WSDL definition imported here, this will automatically pop up your service and endpoint detail and operation details. And you have to choose whether it's going to be on-premise or internet. So if it is your system is S4 HANA Cloud, you can actually choose internet. If my S4 HANA Cloud is on my local DNZ of my client network, then you can choose your on-premise system. Like that's a major proxy type is a major configuration in every adapter that you need to specify whenever you're connecting to any address here. Okay, so this is in general about the adapter and how you can connect adapters. Any queries till this time? So like any clarification needed? I can move on to the next contents. Yeah. So in general, all your integration capabilities are categorized. So that's what we have seen in our first session, especially SCPI is meant for complete canonical transformation as well as multiple orchestration, and SCPI is called as process integration, like cloud platform process integration, and your CPI DS is used for your data services. So that means anything that you want to connect through an API, or like you want to integrate with SFTP connection, CPI is going to play a major role over there. Then your CPI DS. CPI DS is another tool, like it's similar to SCPI, but CPI DS will have a different log web UI. So the UI what we see here, it's called as a web UI, and the U for your CPI DS, you will have a different web UI that will help you to connect directly to your data sources. Example, I have a system of IBP. IBP has a data sources with different planning data. I have another planning data which is sitting on my on-premise. If I want to do data services connection one-to-one, your CPI DS plays a major role. Like within your IBP, if you want to connect your HANA CDS view or HANA any SDS database, like you can use especially CPI DS, and that actually brings you to tag data type to data type connectivity that brings you land the data in a seamless manner than your CPI. CPI is purely API driven architecture that is completely on your data driven architecture. So in general, like your when you have APIs, when you have a SFTP connection, that if you want to do lot of technical process, and if you have actually any orchestration within that, I have to call 5 to 6 system internally, then CPI way to go. Then in other cases, like you have CPI DS2, if you want to use a database in general, like you can CPI DS2 go. Like in terms of transformation in general, like when I talk about transformation, so transformations are nothing but converting from one protocol to another protocol, and actually then converting the protocol message to your source message protocol to your target message protocol, then doing a bilingual transformation, then a single lingual transformation. There are multiple components that you can define your transformation, and that can be leveraged seamlessly within your CPI, and that brings you the entire capability of the tool that can actually give you the better output when compared to other integration tools. Okay, so like, so this is another example, like how the transformation you can actually do, like it has a content modifier and it has a converters. Like the content modifier is something like you can receive the message and you can apply some XPath to receive the message and do some read the message, and you can build your own message in the content. Like if I want to say expand my, if I read a message from my headers, or if I read my incoming message, I want to append some more properties, you can do at the content modifier level, or you can actually modify something. That's a content modifier is the right way to go. And you have converters. You have XML to JSON converter. You have JSON to XML converter. You have a lot of other converters like XML to CSV converter, CSV to XML converters. You have plenty of converters are available. Then you have decoders. You have encoders. For plenty of then EDA extractors. And your filters. Filters are something like you want to, when you seamlessly transform a message using a CPI, then if I want to filter only certain type of values that I need for my payload, you can use filters for that one. And message digest is to whenever you do a splitter, if I'm interested only to digest or consume the message which has a particular property or character, I can use a message digest. And your scripts are nothing but if some components are really not possible with CPI. So these are all default palette components. If these default palette components are not possible with CPI, then I can go ahead and use Groovy programming. Your scripts are supported in two ways, either JavaScript or a Groovy script. So Groovy is something like it can leverage your Java as much as possible over there, and I can convert your entire Java programming into a Groovy by importing similar jars and libraries in your runtime mode. And you can develop the similar functionality using your Groovy, and you can convert that entire into an adapter. So that is possible with your Groovy thing. And similarly, if I want to deal with server level scripting, so server level scripting is nothing but where actually you can define some parameters like, example, I want to handle client side programming information. So then you can use your example if you want to use decoding of a message in a softer way at the client side itself. I don't want to execute the transaction at the server side. Then you can actually use JavaScript. In that case, you can do all your transformation within your JavaScript. So these are like various capabilities within your transformation module for a CPI, and this brings a lot of capability and different use cases, and you can take it from there. Any queries or any doubts till this time? So yeah, so I can park this till this time. Then actually I can go to our exercise. Like yesterday I had given like example, if I have a OAuth 2.0 token, how to decode a token using extension libraries, and how to use that message in general and API management. Like I can develop that one, so that will really help you because that touches multiple policies. So that will be another example for you to look into, and so with this you can know like how you can use extension policies in API management. So I'll park till now for this managed cloud integration. Then and I'll go back to our share example. Then I can start using that one now. Yeah. Before that, I'll go to API management. Okay, let me copy our source API.
That's my one, by the way. So if it doesn't work,
Sorry.
That's an API I created. So if it doesn't work,
Okay. Sorry, my bad. Actually, I'll take any of this API.
I was struggling to find a REST API that was available, so I just use the same one.
Okay. I'll just use this API to copy. Just giving us get sort of information. Okay, so it's again our data model. Copy this API. So now let's go to policies. So already in this one we have two policies, which is nothing but our API quota policy and our quota fault limit policy. So from here we can actually, because our token is going to be, let me bring the postman up. So this is a way that we are actually using to generate a token. But if I pass a token as part of my OAuth bearer one, I need to know if I go to this entire token. So in this token, I have multiple components, right? Like, so whenever you use OAuth 2.2 token generation, it has multiple components within it. So example, it has header information, which is marked in your red section, and your payload information, which is marked in the blue section, and your signature information, which is, payload is on the pink section, and your signature is on the blue section. So in this, if I want to read the payload, and so this kind of example will come as part of your, when you go to your client location time, right? Like they will send this OAuth token, and the OAuth token, we need to authorize only a specific client. But I need to read the token. So once I get such a kind of a token, how do I read the token? Because with SAP default capability, you cannot use certain policies to read this one. Now we need to go with the extension policies. I'll show one real-time example how to read this one token using the combination of JavaScript and your Groovy. JavaScript and actually your Python. Or you can use Python, or you can use like even Groovy. So, but actually I'm comfortable with Python more. Like I can use Python in that case. So, example, this is my token. I'll create a first my KVM with this name. Okay. So then my client ID is going to be this ID. Okay. This is going to be my client ID. Let me put the same value. Or now I'll just say like this. My client ID, then I'll go to here and get the same value out of it. Okay, so now I will use a policy called extract variables, because this is coming as in the bearer token, right? Like when I hit this API, like in this API, we are sending as part of, yeah. So if you take an example of this API, we are sending authorization as a header. Similarly, we will actually set the authorization instead of basic auth, we'll set as a bearer token. Once you send this one, this will be sent as a bearer token information. So if I choose extract variable, this extract variable will allow me to get the variable in the proper format. Okay, so with the extract variable, like I'm keeping async as true, container as false, enabled as true, and so on. Then I'm not keeping any source and XML payload. I'm removing these components because we need only the header names to be extracted. Rest all your XML payload variable, everything can be extracted. It can be removed. We can directly use something called header name. Under the header name, we have to define the pattern. I'll show you this. And I can define a pattern. So it will come as bearer and the token. So now once you have the token, you will actually get the token assigned to this variable. So incoming.oauth.token will have your variable. Now we will clean up and we'll actually see in our real time how it is coming. You'll get unauthorized. If I go to debug mode, you see this incoming auth token, extracted the token, whatever it is coming from. So now I have my token in my hand. So then I can use other extension policies, such as it could be your JavaScript or it could be your Python or anything. So I'm actually picking Python as an example here. Your decode token here. In this one, you can actually create a script file. So I can create a script file. Before I create a script file, let me clean up this one. The reason why I'm picking Python, right? Python has default packages, but when you go with JavaScript, you have to import those things, those libraries. Let me write a Python script for this one. I can start with just import this 64 to bring all the Python input. Then I can write try. So we can, before that, I'll just use variable to get the token first. This is my variable that I defined. I'll just let me check that once. Okay. So now I got this one as part of variable. I can split the token into multiple components. Token equal to char token. So now I split this token into 3 components. From that, I can take the token one component. There, how to check? It's B64 decode, I believe. 64 decode of token 1. So now this will have the JSON token will be decoded. Now I can set this to a flow variable. Set variable of, I can put as what payload should have token. Then your JSON token. The catch block I can define. If I execute any problem in decoding this token, your Python will, in general, it will throw this exception. I'm defining that variable. You can see all this information in your trace mode. Error in decoding the token. I can even give the token name. Okay, so I have this parameter. Now I will actually upload this script into APIM. Let's see. Let me go to Integration Suite. I can add the script. Let me choose as Python. So once you imported this one, like you can see, you can actually give the script name here, which is nothing but Python script as decode token. You need to just define the decode token Python. Yeah. So with this, like you can define. So I'm parking here for session. Like we can continue. Like so. So just my recommendation is play around with lot of variables. Otherwise, you will not be able to get lot of information from anywhere. Like once you start using multiple variables, then you will be comfortable in using API management.